Well, this is just beautiful, ain't it?
I gave you fair warning, beware, beware.
Smack him in the mouth.
I gave you fair warning, beware, beware.
Smack him in the mouth.
I gave you fair warning, beware, beware.
Smack him in the mouth.
I gave you fair warning, beware, beware.
Smack him in the mouth.
Welcome into the newest episode of Mike's Film Room, and I am Mike, and I'm just a former decent high school football player turned fan on the mic here to bring to you the question: have the Chiefs' offense been figured out by the NFL? Now, I don't necessarily think that they've been completely figured out and that they're doomed for the rest of the NFL season, but there is a specific coverage that I saw both the Chargers and the Buffalo Bills using and abusing in the two games that they played and defeated the Kansas City Chiefs so far this season. So we're going to look into that too high cover two safety look that the two defenses were using, and it was almost an identical look that they were using to kind of slow down this Chiefs offense, or at least limit it enough so that way that their really good offense can take off like they do. Now, I don't want to leave the Baltimore Ravens fans or leave the Baltimore Ravens team out of it completely. I'm sure that they use this as well as these other two teams when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just on NFL Game Pass. The All 22 film's not available to the Baltimore Chiefs-Ravens game for whatever reason or another, so they're not included in this film study. But kudos to them too. All right, I'm going to hop onto the whiteboard and kind of explain this cover two man coverage that can kind of be hybrided into an interesting zone here in a second. But first, I want to ask you to do me a huge favor real quick while you're here. It takes 2 seconds. If you're already subscribed to the channel, just hit the like button. It helps out a ton in the algorithm. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Turn on notification bells. We have about 15 shows that air/go live every single week right here on this network, including this one. And you don't want to miss out on any of that. I promise you will not regret it. We work so hard on it. We appreciate you subscribing, turn on notification bells, and also hit that like button even if you're a new subscriber. I appreciate it. All right, let's get into the film study of the Kansas City Chiefs offense and its struggles versus the Bills and Chargers defenses. Okay, so I got to record this on a separate application, so bear with me a little bit. But we're going to talk about, I'm going to kind of draw up a little bit exactly what these two high safety looks. Very simple stuff, but the Bills and the Chargers executed beautifully. And I'm assuming the Ravens did as well in that game, but the coach's film isn't available, so we're looking specifically at the Bills and Chargers games. This defense is designed to take away those huge plays that we often see the Chiefs getting. Everything that they do behind the line of scrimmage, all those motions, all that misdirection, all that confusion, all that receivers and tight ends lining up under center, all of that is in place to set up big plays later on in the game. Big plays later on in the drive. They're trying to confuse you. They're trying to get your eyes stuck in the backfield, and then Tyreek Hill or Mecole Hardman or Pringle are running right past. So when you successfully just take away that part of their game, the whole entire goal of their offense and everything that their offense builds toward with those big plays, it can be very confusing. It throws off the Chiefs' tempo. It throws Mahomes completely off. It gets them in scenarios where they're making mistakes more often just because they're uncomfortable. And they know that they cannot execute that big play just because it's being taken away by the defense. So what do? They have to try and drive down the field play by play. 6 out of the 8 scoring drives by the Chiefs in these two games, the Chargers and Bills games, took more than 10 plays, with one of the drives in the Bills game taking 17 plays to get down and settle for a field goal. And the only 2 drives where it did not take 10-plus plays for the Chiefs to score, and this is including field goals and touchdowns in these two games, the only 2 drives, one, they had a huge PI call that got them around 25 yards and advanced the ball down the field the same way a big pass would. And in the other one, they were kicking a field goal right before halftime, and that was an 8-play drive, so assuming that would have continued, it probably would have went past 10 plays its damn self. So almost every single drive now for the Chiefs has been extended by a few plays by these defenses, which just gives you more opportunities to make plays on the ball and more opportunities for the Chiefs to make mistakes, and we're seeing them make those mistakes. All right, so I clicked on the first whiteboard available. My drawing skills aren't amazing, so do not get mad at me too much. This square right here is going to represent the center or where the ball is being snapped from, and I'm going to draw everything else around this square with an X in it. This Q is Patrick Mahomes in the shotgun. This circle right here is Tyreek Hill with the little T in it because he's a little man. And then this circle on the other side of the line of scrimmage is Travis Kelce. Now, he can be lined up here. He can be lined up out here in this area in the slot. He can be lined up on this side of scrimmage in the slot, or he can be lined up on the line right here. And they mix them around. But for this example, and the best way to explain this example, I'm going to put Kelce opposite of Hill, so that way we can show how they kind of bracket both of them with this too high safety look. So first things first, we're seeing these defenses put a cornerback, their fastest cornerback usually, or just someone that they really trust to be able to do this, maybe a more lengthy corner with wider stance and wider strides. And they're going out here on Hill, and they are manning up on Tyreek Hill. And they're not just manning up on Tyreek Hill, what I'm noticing specifically is they're going into the trail technique, which is usually used by cornerbacks. I used to play cornerback. It was a ton of fun. Used by cornerbacks to try and shut down underneath routes, try and shut down back shoulder fades, anything underneath. And you're trailing because if he does get over the top, that's okay because you know that you have safeties up top with the too high safety look. So they're putting corners in trail technique on Tyreek Hill. And now what the Bills and the Chargers did so well is they picked the right guy. The Chargers put cornerback Tavon Campbell, who is not the best cornerback in the league. He's not even the best cornerback on the Los Angeles Chargers. But what he is he's got a lot of length. He's got a lot of size to kind of slow down Tyreek Hill at the line of scrimmage. And he's got long arms so he can keep this trail technique going strongly. And you saw Campbell on Tyreek Hill the entire game. And for the most part, they limited those big plays that Tyreek Hill usually kills the Chargers in 2 times a year. And the Bills, they kind of rotated doing this. Trey White was on him. You saw Poyer coming down from the safety position and trailing on Tyreek Hill. The other corners on the field were also on him. Not really Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde was more taking care of Kelce. But both the Bills and the Chargers utilized the corner, manned up on Tyreek Hill. And a lot of times you saw man coverage across the board underneath the linebackers and corners. But sometimes there was a mixture of a zone man. But usually there was still a man manned up on Tyreek Hill in that trail technique to prevent the ball from going to those underneath plays to Tyreek Hill and getting him in space and letting him do his shaky stuff and turn it into much more damaging plays against your defense. These two up here are the two safeties, or the too high look that I was talking about. Now, we saw a couple scenarios where this safety wasn't up here or this safety wasn't up here. There's only one high safety, but a lot of times in those scenarios, it was a disguise and a cornerback from outside was coming up top or a linebacker was dropping to the middle of the field. But the principle is to have 2 guys on each half of the field, so that way this cornerback in trail technique has a ton of help over the top and almost doesn't even have to worry about covering Tyreek Hill over the top as long as he trusts his safety or corner to be there in the right position deep so that to pick up Tyreek Hill in case Tyreek Hill does run a deeper route. And these 2 safeties generally were in this big cover 2 zone that we see often in the league. The hole is the middle of the field, but when this cornerback is in trail technique, it's kind of hard to get it thrown over the middle of the field because you can't really throw a laser or dart pass. You have to kind of leave some air time on it with this corner here trailing Tyreek Hill, which allows the safeties to cover this middle of the field, which is typically a weakness in defenses. I will say this does take certain kind of players. This does take putting the right players in the right positions. And both the defensive coordinators for the Chargers and the Bills did that very well. And in games like the Philadelphia Eagles game, they did not do that very well versus Tyreek Hill. So you got to have disciplined safeties that aren't going to come biting on shorter routes that are going to stay deep. They're going to keep an eye on Hill, and they know the game plan. They execute the game plan correctly. Then the final part of this, and of course there's a bunch of other people on the field, but we're just talking about trying to stop these big plays specifically. A corner or a safety or somebody on this side of the field, someone on defense is just manning up on Travis Kelce. And that is just mano-a-mano football is what these defenses are doing. So for the Chargers, it was Derwin James and Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a cornerback with a very interesting body build and interesting game. He's a very big physical corner, almost like a strong safety. And, of course, Derwin James is Derwin James, and you guys know his skill set. And the Bills were using guys like Tre'Davious White again. Micah Hyde was coming down and taking care of this. And there was even times where they trusted Trey Edmonds to kind of just guard Travis Kelce. Not most of the time, but they did give Trey Edmonds a couple shots at it. And they would disguise it too. They wouldn't necessarily just straight up line over Travis Kelce. You would see the person guarding him lining up to the side, lining up in what would look like a zone, but they're really man coverage on Kelce. But the key to this was to just do your best against Kelce with your best coverage corner / safety and really try and limit the big plays to Tyreek Hill. And that's kind of the goal of the entire defensive scheme that these two teams were running against the Chiefs that worked very successfully. So this is the basis of it, right? There's more receivers on the field. There's more linebackers on the field. But this is the basis of this defense. There's more defensive backs on the field, and everyone else is on the field playing. But basically, what this defense is designed to do is to make Mahomes, who is going to be facing pressure, especially when you're playing a good D-line. And another key is to get pressure on Mahomes. While facing pressure with a young O-line, have Mahomes have to use these other weapons and have Mahomes' big playability or have Mahomes' go-to kind of taken away, which just kind of throws off the entire Chiefs offense. And you're never going to stop them. There's too much talent to completely stop them. But if you can slow them down enough so that way that your superhuman offense that the Bills and the Chargers possess can just outscore them, I mean, that's the way to go. The Bills took it to the Chiefs and forced a bunch of turnovers and beat them down pretty bad. The Chargers took it to the Chiefs, forced a bunch of turnovers. The final score was 1 possession. But when you really go and watch that game, the entire first 3 quarters was dominated by this Chargers defense. So, I mean, they did a great job executing this, and I noticed it in both games, and I wanted to point it out here on this little whiteboard animation. All right, let's get into the tape a little bit. I pulled off 2 plays from the Chargers game, 2 plays from the Chiefs game, but they really ran this all night long. I think actually a stat came out on the Bills. They ran cover 2 53% of the game or some crazy number like that, and then 23% of the time there was 2 high safeties, and it was a hybrid coverage of some sort. So it added up, and that's 70% of the game with 2 high safeties, giving them this look that I was just drawing up on the whiteboard for you guys. And that's the Bills game. This is the Chargers game, which we're going to talk about first. Happened earlier on in the season. And Tyreek Hill's on the motion here, and you see Tavon Campbell, the guy that I was talking about, manned up on Tyreek Hill, following him across the formation. And the Chiefs are always creative with their motions and trying to get Tyreek Hill open. So this simple man coverage, you are on Hill and you are in that trail technique, you have nothing else to worry about, makes it less confusing when they're doing all these motions in the backfield. And you also notice that Michael Davis here is manned up on Travis Kelce down here below. You also notice that Michael Davis here, the cornerback that I was talking about, that has a little bit more size, that is almost built like a strong or a free safety more than a corner. Michael Davis is right here on Travis Kelce, both in man coverage. Campbell over here on Tyreek Hill, not in press coverage because Tyreek Hill is motioning. Michael Davis on Travis Kelce, and you see the 2 safeties up top, and look kind of how they play it. Watch Tavon Campbell right here. He's about to enter his trail technique. Like I said, you want to get on the inside hip or the outside hip and kind of just follow Tyreek Hill behind him, so that way that the underneath stuff is kind of blocked off, because you trust your 2 safeties to have them over the top. And then Michael Davis just does a tremendous job here on Travis Kelce on this play. Bam, you get an incomplete pass. Look at how far downfield Kelce and Tyreek Hill are, and look at how much space there is in the field for them to potentially burn the opponent. But this cover 2 safety technique is taking care of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is covered up top by these 2 safeties. And Tavon Campbell has the underneath in his trail technique right here. And then Michael Davis is a guy that can just come down and man up on a tight end like Kelce. And Kelce's going to win matchups. Kelce's going to get free. Kelce's going to route up guys that are one-on-one coverage on him. But he's going to do it only so many times a game. As long as you limit those huge plays to Tyreek Hill, you kind of force the Chiefs to methodically drive down the field versus get those one-hitters that put them in good field position, put in the defense on its heels, and all the different things that these big plays can do. And this league really is about making those huge plays nowadays. It's just a perfect example of that coverage being ran to exactly what it's designed to do. And here it is again later on in the game. This is a 1st and 15. The Chiefs kind of have the perfect amount of space to run this money deep crossing route with Tyreek Hill out of the slot, and they love going to that deep crossing route in all parts of the field as long as there's enough space from the end zone to where the ball is marked at the line of scrimmage. But this isn't a perfect example, and this is the example I used on the whiteboard draw up. You got Tyreek Hill being covered by Tavon Campbell right here, and he's going to use that trail technique I've been saying over and over again. You got Michael Davis up at the top of the screen on Travis Kelce. They're both in man coverage. They're both playing aggressive coverage. They're both playing tight coverage. And then you have these 2 safeties up top that are going to prevent Tyreek Hill from getting over the top and prevent Mecole Hardman from leaking any big routes over the top as well. And the Chargers execute it perfectly, and when you pair it with a good pass rush, it's damn near impossible to beat. Now, if the pass rush isn't there and you give him enough time, that man and zone coverage combination eventually is going to break, and you're going to find someone wide open. But you're taking the chance there, and you're trusting your defensive lineman to get a good pass rush on Mahomes, and they do exactly that on this play right here. And they definitely shaded to the outside on the D-line and rushed on the outside of the D-line to make sure that Mahomes could not roll to his left where all that field was. Mahomes didn't want to on this play anyways because the entire flow of the play is going right, but it's smart by the Chargers to pin him against the sideline and give him less options to go to. And ends up being an incomplete, harmless pass. That's usually one of their money plays, is running that deep crosser to Tyreek Hill over the middle of the field. All right, let's move on to the Bills here. And this is in the first drive of the game, and notice something very familiar. You got Tyreek Hill in the slot here. You got Travis Kelce at the top of the screen here, and look at what you got. You got a man in coverage on Tyreek Hill. You got a man in coverage on Travis Kelce. You got the two safeties up high, and it looks exactly like the other plays that we were just seeing the Chargers running against this Chiefs offense. And even watch the cornerback covering Hill down here in the slot. You're going to see him go into that trail technique that I've been talking about. See how he's kind of just following. He's on his hips on the trail technique. He's letting him go ahead and beat him over the top. Go ahead and throw that because there's two safeties right here that are there to cover that. And because of the tight coverage by this corner, Mahomes would have to lift that ball into the air a little bit more to get it over him, which gives the safeties enough time to go over to it and defend it. Right here, they try to go underneath, and the corner's there to break up the play. Then you go to the top of the screen. Again, you just put someone that you trust in coverage on Travis Kelce. I'm not sure which DB that is because it's kind of hard to tell with the fuzzy shot. But right up here, you just put whoever you trust to just lock up Travis Kelce and live with it if he gets it to Kelce. But you're really trying to take away that big play to Hill because that's their bread and butter go-to. And that's what Mahomes is looking at first. So if your pass rush is getting there, by the time he even gets to Kelce, usually you can kind of put that play to bed, and Mahomes will either throw it away or try and roll out of the pocket and make something happen from there. But as you can see, Travis Kelce in man coverage up there does a terrific job guarding Kelce, making sure he doesn't get anything easy. But Mahomes was trying to go to Hill on that play. That was on third down after a 17-play opening drive by the Chiefs where they had to settle for a field goal. Here it is again later on in the game, and look at what you see. It's the identical look to what I was showing you in the Chargers game. Tyreek Hill in the slot on the left side of the formation with a corner on him, and he's lined up outside, which is interesting because usually you line up outside when you're in zone coverage, but he's lining up outside just to help himself out when he goes into this trail technique. He doesn't have to really fight to get onto the outside or inside hip. He can kind of just, press Hill a little bit and then kind of let him go and just trail behind him. And you got the two safeties up top like we've seen in the other formations. And then a man in one-on-one coverage on Travis Kelce on the other side of the formation. And you got it. Everything's covered up. I mean, Mahomes has 10 seconds to throw this ball, and the Bills are still able to force an incompletion, and that was on fourth down and force a turnover on downs. I believe this is Johnson, the Bills cornerback on Hill right here. I mean, watch closely, specifically that matchup. He does an amazing job on coverage on Hill here. Hill runs his route and then is wandering around trying to get open in the backfield, and he's all over him the entire time. And like I was saying at the beginning of the show, once you start to make them take 12, 15 plays to try and drive down the field, you give them more chances to make mistakes. And this team's gotten a little bit too flashy, especially this year, trying to do no-look passes, trying to mix it up too much, and it's just leading to sloppy football, fumbles, interceptions, all of the above, honestly. And they're actually, I think, tied for the lead in the league in turnovers so far this year, which is shocking for the Chiefs, normally an efficient football team. But the Bills and the Chargers, they capitalize on those mistakes, turn them into turnovers, turn them into punts, and turn them into field goals instead of touchdowns, and that ultimately led to W's. And I went to the other loss just real quick just to take a glimpse at what it looks like and what the Ravens at least were lining up in. And here's the first play, right? And notice something a little bit familiar. Overall, defenses have been using this cover 2 too high safety look to try and slow down and limit the big plays against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're finding a little bit of success. And I want to put the disclaimer out there, especially before you see the Chiefs tear up Washington football team this weekend, and that is that if you don't have the right personnel to do it, if you don't have a Tre'Davious White or a Michael Davis as a corner that can go and cover a guy like Travis Kelce, if you don't have a Tavon Campbell who's really lengthy and can kind of get into that perfect trail technique on Tyreek Hill, if you do not have the safeties of Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde to be able to be smart enough to Rocky and Lucy, which is just roll up and down and go to where the coverage is needed on the fly during the play to prevent any big plays from happening down the field, you can't really execute this kind of style of defense just because you're just going to have burn coverages and you're going to get toasted because you're leaving your guys in man coverage versus Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And that leads me to well-deservedly shout out Leslie Frazier, the defense coordinator of the Bills, for putting his guys in the right positions to succeed. To Ronaldo Hill, defensive coordinator of the Chargers, Brandon Staley, head coach of the Chargers, to scheme this up and make it kind of an easier team to slow down than usual for this Chargers defense. With that being said, the Chiefs are going to figure it out. What it comes down to is they just got to march down the field because the draw plays are going to be open in this defense. Mahomes taking off himself is going to be open in this style of defense. Mecole Hardman on short routes underneath because he's going against the second and third corners in this is going to be open. The running back on routes out of the backfield, they can get Jarrett McKinnon more involved with the CEH injury, is going to be open. And hopefully Andy Reid reels in Mahomes, reels in this offense and says, hey, we need to just go play some efficient football for a little while. Throw all of the fancy no-look passes, sideways throws, underhand throws, throw it all out the playbook, throw it all out the window. We got to go win football games first before we try and get flashy, before we're creating highlight plays. And they're going to get to it. The team's too good. Andy Reid's too good of a coach. Patrick Mahomes is too good of a quarterback. They're going to figure it out, and come playoff time, you're going to see the Chiefs contending for the AFC again. You're going to see the Bills. You're going to see the Chargers as well in the mix, and hopefully they can continue to run successful schemes against this Chiefs offense, and you're really going to see a chess match start to form between the Chargers defense versus the Chiefs offense, the Bills defense versus the Chiefs offense, the Ravens defense versus the Chiefs offense, and even the Browns. I'm sure they're studying up, and the rest of the league is studying up how these teams have slowed down this Chiefs offense and have limited the big plays and forced them into 12-play drives to kick field goals so far this season. I had a ton of fun on this episode. I really got into my bag a little bit, watched multiple games, pieced together a storyline, and brought it here to you. I hope you enjoyed it just as much. If you did, please like the video, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. If you didn't enjoy the video, go ahead and leave a hate comment in the comment section below and then move on with your day. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Mike's Film Room. If you want more from us, I'm not the only person that hosts shows on this network. Like I said, we have 15 shows on this network. Stay tuned. We're going to have multiple shows over the next couple of days. We go live for all the prime times for live watch party live streams. You can head in the live chat and watch the games with us and much more. So stay tuned. The Warzone Sports Network's going straight to the moon. Bars. Holy crap. If you like some Warzone Sports Network merch, like the Mike on the Mic t-shirt jersey, head to www.warzonesportsnetwork.com. All that merch is up there for a limited time. If you guys want to go up there and buy yourself a t-shirt, buy yourself a sticker, buy yourself a coffee mug, we appreciate even the smallest purchase on the store. There's also bonus content, blogs, and stuff up on that website. Check out all of our social medias on Instagram, Warzone Sports Network, on Twitter, Warzone Sports. I say because there's two S's, Warzone Sports, and on TikTok, Warzone Sports Network. I think that's all the cheap plugs for this week's episode. Let me know what the Chiefs' overall record is going to be at the end of the year in the comment section below. I want to hear from every single person that's tuned in right now in the comment section. Don't care if it's only 5 people. Let me know a Chiefs record prediction at the end of the year. They're currently 2-3. Keep that in mind. Thank you one last time for tuning in. Really appreciate you. I'm Mike, and I'm just a former decent high school player turned fan on the mic, and this is me saying until next time. Almost saluted you with my left hand.
I gave you fair warning, beware.
I'll smack him in the mouth.
I gave you fair warning, beware.